Well, hey there. What is going on, YouTube? How you guys doing today? Good. I hope you're good. I hope you're feeling good. Come on. Come on, you. Come on. Stay. Please? Please stay? Well, whatever. Fuck you too, Chinese product. Quality is hard to come by these days. I'm not gonna do a review today. I just wanted to kind of get back into those basics videos, so I figured today, let's just do some basic coil building, some round wire coil building, something that's extremely quick, easy, and effective if you're just getting going in rebuildables, RDAs, RTAs, RDTAs, RSAs, whatever it is that you're rebuilding. I know terminology is just sometimes a little bit whack and a little bit too much in the vape world, but we're gonna do just a really quick, easy round wire build. I'll show you how to do it. I'll show you how I'll show you how to get your coils glowing and heated up, and kind of what to look for and what to be aware of, some safety things, things like that. We'll go through the whole spiel. So yeah, I guess let's get going. Safety first, like always, guys. Safety first.
Yeah, cool. Let's make some coils. Before we get started though, a few things that you're gonna want. Wire. I'm gonna use some 24 gauge stainless steel round wire. Pliers. Ceramic tip tweezers. Nom, 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 nom. A coiling rod. A screwdriver. Snips. And a coil jig, which is optional, but handy and super easy to work with. And I'll show you how to use this in just a minute. And I'll also show you how to wrap on just your screwdriver. Most people have something. Most people have these basic tools somewhere in their house. If not, they're extremely affordable, extremely cheap, and really easy to find on Amazon or your local hardware store or something like that. Wire. Yeah, just some basic 24 gauge stainless steel round wire. The only thing when it comes to wire is something you need to know. If you do have allergies to certain metals, stay away from those metals. Things like nichrome contain nickel, and a lot of people have nickel allergies. So do a little research as far as what metals you're using and whether or not you're allergic to any of them. There are plenty of other options out there, so you'll be fine. Just use a different metal. All right, so I like to start by taking one loop, see where that thing grabs the wire there, that little slot or slit or hole or whatever it is you have on your spool. Since we're going to do two of them today, I'm going to take one, two, and I'm just going to put it kind of back in there. And this wire is going to be all bendy and weird and kind of crazy, and we're going to take care of that right now. Go ahead and grab your little pliers. You're going to go all the way to the end of this wire. You're going to grab real tight. Yeah, use those hand muscles. Then you're going to grab this guy real tight. Use those hand muscles. And now we're going to use other muscles. Crazy. And we're just going to kind of pull. And it's going to feel like it's stretching. And you're not really stretching the wire as much as you're just removing the curve of the wire. But it's going to feel a lot like it's stretching. But look at that. Look how nice and straight that wire is now. And we'll just snip it back at the wire holder part of your spool. Cool, good stuff, sweet wire. We've made straight wire. We're going to take our wire and we're going to bend it in half. And then I usually just kind of take my pliers here and I pull along the middle, and you'll kind of get a better, maybe not an exact middle, but a better middle. And you're just going to snip right there. I like to build clockwise, so I like to start with my wire on top of my screwdriver, wire. And I like to bend down with both first. You end up with just a little bend like that. I'm using a 3mm screwdriver. The lower your inner diameter, the smaller the thing that you're wrapping around, the more resistance you're going to have, so you'll have a higher resistance coil. The bigger the inner diameter, you will have a lower resistance coil. But we're going to stick with a 3 today. That's a pretty common pretty common size. And I like to pinch that bottom one and then just kind of work this wire around. And you want to be aware of how many times you wrap, because again, the more wraps that you have, the higher the resistance of the coil. The less wraps that you have, the lower resistance of the coil. So there, if you're struggling with getting a resistance that you're looking for, make the coil bigger or smaller and add or take away wraps. Here's a common misconception that a lot of people have. If you look close at that wire right now, how many wraps do you think I have? If you just counted the wraps that you see, you're going to see 5. There's actually 4 wraps on that coil right now, not 5. Technically, there's 4.5. So your first and your last wraps count as halves. So we're at 4.5, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5, 8. Okay. So what I always do is I just kind of count all of them and then subtract 1. That's the easiest way to know the number of wraps that you have. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That makes 8 full wraps. So there you go. I wish I could get that to be a little clearer, but that's the best that I've got. And it's not pretty. Let's be honest. It's kind of ugly. But we can fix all of that. Next thing you're going to want to do is cut your leads off. I like to leave them fairly long depending on the atomizer. You might have atomizers where you need to pre-cut your leads. That's kind of a different story, but for what we're doing today, we're just going to leave them long. I always leave one leg longer than the other, and that's just to kind of get things going and get them into that atomizer, into those post holes, and feed it through. Now, I'm going to show you how this little guy works. This, for anybody who builds round wire regularly, you should get yourself a jig. It doesn't have to be a Coil Master jig per se, but they do make some really nice products. They do make a really nice jig. I enjoy it. I use it regularly for all of my basic round wire builds. And you just feed it through that hole that's in there. See those 2 holes? Come on, Logan, get it in the hole. Hold down with your thumb on the last bit of that wire coming through. Real easy. And you take this guy, slide it on. Now what you want to do is you want to give enough pressure that it stays and it wraps. The wraps stay next to each other, but if you put too much pressure, they'll start to wrap over each other. It's just something that you kind of have to learn. It's a feel kind of thing. I know, Logan, teach us all of it right now. Some things can't be taught in a video, guys. You got to learn them yourself. But this is basically how it works. I just keep a little bit of pressure on that wire as I spin it. I don't want to fight it, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? 9. And that gives us our 8 full wraps, 9 turns. And watch those wires, because they will bite you a little bit. See? See that? That was just me being dumb and grabbing and pushing on that wire. But guys, they are pokey. So yeah, safety first. Be careful. I guess anybody out there who's diabetic, though, will tell you that that's really nothing. It's a pinprick to the finger, and a lot of people go through it every day of their lives. I'm going to take it, I'm going to turn that thing around on there. I'm going to put that flat side up against this thing. Okay, see that top wire is kind of crazy. I'm going to put the flat side of this, I guess, down on here, and then I'm just going to kind of work that other wire into place a little bit. I'm just going to kind of help it get back to where it needs to be. Looks pretty darn good to me. You see how close those wrappings are that came off of that? And then here's my screwdriver one. And again, we're going to snip those leads. And guys, watch your eyes when you're cutting these, okay? They have a tendency to fly. I like to grab a hold of them, but if I don't, whew, that was a good one. I made it all the way across the room. Even the long ones can fly. So I like to just grab a hold of that other end when I snip them, okay? Left one just a little bit longer than the other. Some atomizers that you have may only take 1, some may take 2, some may take 12, depending on what your style of vaping is. I like single coils and dual coils. I like single coils for my kind of lower wattage builds and kind of mouth to lung-esque kind of things. Something like this where I have a single coil in there. But today we're going to do a dual coil build. You're going to need a mod and an atomizer. Always build on a regulated device, something that has safety features built into it, or an ohm reader. Please do not ever build on a mechanical device. Always build on something with safety features and a way to check the resistance, so an ohm reader or anything regulated will work. You're going to want an atomizer. Any atomizer works. It doesn't matter. They're all basically the same premise. They all work on the same idea that you're connecting a coil or a resistor to a positive connection and a negative connection to complete a circuit. Basic electrical, things and stuff. And we're going to make it warm and glowy and wick it and vape it and woo. We're going to go ahead and put that ugly coil in first. I'm going to go from the positive post to the negative post on this atomizer. I've got 2 holes on each side by side. I'm going to go from a lower hole to a higher up hole, and I'm just going to feed it right into those 2 slots. You can see pretty clearly what 2 those are coming out of. You can see on this side as best as I can show you. I'm trying here, guys, working with what I got. Okay, so I went from the lower hole on this side to the higher hole on this side, and then I'm just going to kind of grab those leads on the back and just kind of give them a little tug. I want to get this coil as close to the post as I can, and then I'll use the natural slack in that wire to kind of adjust them from there. Then you just want to go ahead and tighten those screws down. You don't want to over tighten them. With basic round wire, if you over tighten, it's really easy to snap and cut those leads, and that's something you definitely don't want to do. Then you got to make a whole new coil, and that's a big pain. Easy enough. We cut the leads on the back side as it came through. I use the flat side of those snips. You can see there's kind of a flat side. Get it right up against those posts and cut it as close as you can. And then you can kind of start to work that coil, pull it back from those posts just a little bit, and you'll find that you have quite a bit of play in those coils, natural play just in the wire itself. And I kind of moved it over, pushed it towards the center a little bit more, and pulled it away. And as you can see, I've moved it away from those posts just enough to make sure it's not touching both and create just enough of a gap. And yeah, it's not the prettiest thing, but we're gonna fix it. We'll make that work. And coil number 2, this is that one that we used in that coil jig, and as you will be able to see once you flip, you're just going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, but you will notice that your wire is going to butt right into that other coil. You're going to see it on the other side. It's really hard to see on camera, guys. I do apologize, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put my coil on top, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball where this leg, oh gosh, where this leg that's hitting my other coil, I'm just going to kind of eyeball that, and I'm going to cut it equal and flush to this side. Okay, the side where it's going to come through and hit that coil. I'm going to kind of cut that flush alongside this post wall and just kind of eyeball that and pre-cut that leg. And then I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. Feed one leg in and then the other, and just keep an eye on that other coil and make sure that that lead that you snipped is cut short enough and it's not coming through and touching that other coil. Now this is going to change depending on the RDA that you use. They are all different, guys, so some RDAs you don't have to worry about that quite so much, and other ones you do, but it is definitely something to always be mindful of. When you're building, take your time, double check, triple check things, safety first, as always. We just want to make sure that we're always being safe, we're always double checking stuff. And there you go. Once you've got both those coils in and kind of, jostled around to where you want them to be. I like to keep my coils pretty even. You can see this guy up here is the one that we did on that screwdriver, and this is the guy down here that we did on that coil jig. And yeah, that top one is, well, a little bit messier, and that's okay. What you want to do is make sure that you start at a low wattage. I'm at 30 watts right now. That's where I like to build comfortably, and you want to pulse that fire button. You want to introduce those coils and that metal to current and electricity at not such a massive rate. Your ceramic tip tweezers come into play here. You're going to kind of take that ugly coil and you're going to kind of pinch it together, okay? And while you're doing that, you want to make sure that no other metal is touching anywhere. That's why the ceramic is so important, and that you are just only touching it with the ceramic and just pulse, okay? And you might start seeing some colors. You might start seeing some hot spots. Those things do happen if you gotta kind of work your wire from there. It's okay to use a metal object when you're doing this as long as you are not hitting that fire button while that metal object is in there, because you know we want metal to be where metal's supposed to be while it's firing, and not metal where it's not supposed to be while it's firing. That's how problems happen. We don't want problems, we just want good quality vapor. And it's never a bad idea once you're fiddling with your coils to go around and kind of retighten your screws. And yeah, and now I'm just going to kind of start getting them glowing. Ready? You're going to start to see those bad boys warming up. See that glow? Now if you start noticing that your glow is uneven, what you're going to want to do is kind of, you know, fiddle with them. Squeeze them together a little bit, okay? If any of them are struggling, squeeze those guys. And then another thing that you can do is strum on them. And by strumming, what you're doing is you're just putting a little bit of spacing between those coils as you do it. And that spacing is going to kind of give the electrons an easier path. You're going to deal with less arcing, basically, not necessarily arcing, but hot spots. It's going to help eliminate those hot spots. Once you've got a nice, good, even glow, you want your coils to glow from the center out and then back in. Once you've got that good center glow, you can go ahead and kick up that wattage, and you will see those coils performing like champions. Yeah, and that is as easy as it is, guys. The next step, you're done building. That's it. We've built. Those are the coils. Pretty easy. Some key kind of safety things to remember, but all in all, a really easy, simple thing to do. Next, we're just gonna wick these up, and boom. I've got some Vapefly Firebolt cotton. I'm gonna use just kind of the big chunks that they give in here. Something like this, which is very similar to cotton bacon, which most stores do sell. It's a pretty common, popular cotton. And I'm just gonna kind of rip a piece off. This is something that you guys will have to kind of get used to as well. It's just kind of a feel thing. After a while, you know just how much cotton you need for whatever inner diameter you made those coils. Tuck the rest back in my bag here. Save that for later. And now I've got this just kind of piece of cotton. I want those coils to have good amount of cotton in them. You want it to be tight, but not too tight. I'm gonna go ahead and rip this chunk in half because I've got two coils, a little bit easier to work with. I'm just gonna kind of pinch it with my fingers and just kind of make it nice. And then at the end, I'm just gonna give as small of a twist as I can, real tight. And I'm gonna take that, and this is just like threading a needle, guys. Basically just gonna thread the needle, put it in, okay, and just, you know, kind of get it in there and work it. Yeah, that's it. You just want that cotton to be snug, but not so snug that when you're pulling it through, you're disfiguring your coil. You don't want to have to pull so hard that you're just retching on that coil. You just want it to be nice and snug. I'm going to take some scissors, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball where the bottom of the deck is. Remember, your wicks are basically like little mops. They're just going to kind of go down in and soak up any juice that gets down into your deck, into the reservoir or juice well. Get down into your juice well, and we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. And then all I'm going to do is, again, once you're, well, I guess not again because I didn't say it before, but once you're at this stage, do not hit your fire button. This cotton will just burn. You'll just burn it. Stay away from your fire button. Fingers off. And I'm just going to kind of take my cotton, and I'm just going to kind of, I hope that you guys can see this, I'm just going to kind of tuck it down in. All right? We're just going to kind of, now some people like to kind of fluff the tails, fluff the cotton, you know, comb it out and kind of get any little clumps out or whatever. That's entirely up to you. It depends on what I'm doing and what I'm wicking, whether or not I do that. In something like this where I'm kind of folding cotton down in, I don't necessarily worry about it so much, but in something like an RTA or different RDAs, I definitely fluff my cotton out and I get it to where it just touches the deck. In something like this though, we're just going to kind of tuck it and kind of fold it under the coil. You want to make sure all your cotton is inside the atomizer, so within that outer wall. And yeah, just kind of tuck it. And you're going to end up with something that looks something kind of like that. We are ready for the juice. For this, I'm going to use some Blue Rizza Thunder Bomb from Rocket Punch. Basically, all I'm going to do is just kind of paint my coils and start getting my cotton saturated. Get it wet. That's how it works. Get those coils and cotton kind of saturated. We can go ahead and start to fire and you will see we are producing vapors. But that's really it, guys. One thing to look out for when you're building is kind of thinking about where your airflow comes in. You can always kind of hold your your top cap up to it or wherever your airflow is. You want to be pretty direct with your airflow. So I don't know if we'll be able to see it. Juice up my O-rings a little bit. If you find that your O-rings stick, put a couple of drops of juice around the outside of your atomizer on those O-rings and just kind of work it on there. See that coil through that airflow? That's what we're talking about. You want to make sure that your airflow is coming in right at those coils. All right, that's building, guys. We did it. Good job. Thanks for sticking around. Let's go back up top and vape this thing.
So yeah, that's it. That's the basics of building. Thing of beauty. It's easy to do. It's really simple and really effective. If I've missed anything along the way, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. There's literally hundreds of builds out there that you can do, and there are plenty of other tutorial videos out there, and I recommend that you watch a few of them, not just mine, but a few of them to kind of get a general idea of what's going on. Safety first, always. I highly recommend that you at least have a basic understanding of Ohm's law and how that kind of applies to building and what's going on with your resistance and your amperage as far as your batteries go, what your recommended ratings are for ampage. One of these days I'm gonna make it through a whole video, an entire video without stuttering. One of these days, and that same day I'm gonna play the lottery. I mean, it doesn't get much easier than basic round builds, and they're effective. They tend to break down fairly quickly, but if you're in a pinch, if you just need a quick build or just a reliable build that you know works well for you, I hope this video helped kind of get you going in building and not being so afraid. I know when I first started vaping, I vaped on a sub-ohm tank. I was a little worried about building. I was like, there seems to be so much to it, and I don't want to do it wrong. I don't want to have something happen. I've heard stories about things blowing up. It's not as scary as it sounds. It's relatively simple. It's all based on the same premise, and there's just a few kind of safety things that you need to learn before you get started. Be confident in your abilities, and be confident in yourself. But don't be overconfident, because that's where things go wrong. Either way, guys, I hope that this video was at least just a tidbit informative. I know we're gonna get better camera angles soon. I'm hoping that in the near future I get a new camera and I'll probably redo this video with better angles and better close-ups and things that I can kind of explain a little better along the way. But until then, this is what we got. And this has just been another basics video, just something I want to go through, just the little things that I think a lot of people kind of skip over. I want you guys to be safe. This industry is based on harm reduction, and the last thing that I want to see is anybody get hurt because they don't understand, proper building and safety steps, precautions, and things like that along the way. So that's what this whole basics series is for. So if you found it helpful, or maybe you learned something that you didn't know before, please like, share it, subscribe, push all the buttons. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart and lungs. You guys are just simply amazing. If you want to check us out on Instagram, always with the clicks and always with the fingers, and the link is right there. Lastly, as always, but definitely one of the most important things that I always talk about, CASAA. Please go to CASAA.org, sign up. It's free. All you need is an email. You can opt out of things that you don't want to, get, like newsletters and stuff like that. But it's a great way to stay informed. It's a great way to know about what's going on in your local area, calls to action in your local area, and ways that we can prevent and help prevent, legislation taking away something that we all love and has kept us from smoking. That's the most important thing. Whether you use a sub-ohm tank, whether you use a pod, whether you build in an RDA or an RSA or an RTA or an RDTA, the most important thing is that we're not smoking. Stay safe. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, let's keep vaping.
These ceramic twip, yes, ceramic twip tweezers.